Commanders, make sure to subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and also ring that notification bell to get notified on my latest videos. As always, let's get started, shall we?
Bravo 6. Going dark.
Lasst uns schnell vordringen. Beginnen wir mit dem Bau. Vernichte das Ziel.
Marder, an der Spitze. Экипаж на 34 ждет приказать.
Welcome Commanders to another unit review. Today, we are going to look at one of the most vulnerable yet effective engineers of the Ostsphere. The Luftwaffe engineers. These engineers are different than your normal American engineers, as they are used by the German Air Force or Luftwaffe. These ground engineers help planes start up running, making sure that everything works perfectly. Though in the game, they are not assigned to that role. Instead, they infiltrate enemy buildings and destroy them. But that's not all. They have a 2 cm flak 38 AA gun with them, but we will talk in more detail about it later. And now, let's get into the review, shall we? First thing to take note of is its armament. It has two things that it carries, each one of them. A satchel charge and a Kar-98K rifle. The satchel charge is the same as those the American engineers had, but it does less damage to buildings due to the developers not wanting the Luftwaffe engineers to be as much stronger than the American engineers. At level 9, it does 448 damage to buildings. Though these satchel charges cannot target tanks, vehicles, and infantry. Range for these satchel charges are 5, which is fairly decent for an engineer. Attack speed for these satchel charges is 6 seconds, which is 2 seconds lower than the normal American engineer's satchel charges. Its hit radius is medium, but it is not enough to reach enemy units near that building. Moving on with its secondary weapon, the Kar-98K rifle. These engineers won't go out in battle without a proper defensive weapon, so they were given this rifle. But, this weapon has the most damage to infantry than any other armament that is being held by war-matched/Soviet pioneers and American engineers. At level 9, the Kar-98K does 129 damage to infantry. Of course it can target any unit, but the damage to infantry is comparably high than other targets. With a range of 8 in the Kar-98K, it can have a slight advantage against enemy infantry units. Attack speed likewise is fairly decent, 1.5 seconds per shot. But there is still one more weapon that these engineers had, the 2 cm flak 38 AA gun. This AA gun is carried by engineers either using it as an offensive or defensive stationary weapon. The weapon has the same level as the Luftwaffe engineers. It has a lifetime of 40 seconds, a total hit points of 1501 when at level 9. An attack speed of 0.5 seconds and a range of 13. Damage is pretty good at infantry and vehicles, though for tanks and buildings, it's a pretty different story. And now, let's look at the engineer's total amount of hit points. It has 472 hit points at level 9, which is pretty low compared to the other faction's engineer/pioneer. Oh, don't forget, the AA gun can be deployed by pointing where you want your engineers to go. There are 4 of them and that's enough to deal damage to enemy buildings. One last problem these engineers had is their speed. Their speed is slow, and it will take more time to travel to a location, while the enemy has less time to deploy his troops. They can't even charge to enemy buildings once they are near it. It is an elite unit, so it can be spawned on all roads. And now, let's look at what deck you can use this unit with. The best deck for it is the Siege Tactics. Passive effects for your Luftwaffe engineers will be the 20% increase attack speed on all weapons and the +1 attack range on all defensive encampments, for instance, the 2 cm flak 38 AA gun. Active skills include Tactical Retreat and the Huddle, which is a good long-range support tank that can deal enemy units with ease afar. And that's it for today's unit review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and join my official Discord server in the description below. As always, I will see you next time, Commanders.